I think what's best for me is building the mindset of investing, which is everyone kind of knows how to invest in terms of you put money in and you buy low, sell high. But what changes between that time is your mindset and your feelings towards the investments. So yeah, I've kind of watched a lot of content to kind of get a strong mindset to invest.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Anna Christina from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor,
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Hello and welcome back. I have Tom here with us today and he's going to tell us all about his money journey. You have, is it 2 or 3 properties now?
Yeah, I have 2 at the moment. I sold one last year, so.
Yeah, and you work up in Port Hedland, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I live and work up there, yeah.
Amazing. So we're going to hear all about your money journey, but first, money wins, money losses. Do you have one for us today?
Yeah, my money win would be getting free public transport here.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing in Perth.
Yeah, so for this, I believe it's for the school holidays.
Yeah.
I don't live in Perth either, so I kind of just found out from my parents. If you have a Smart Rider card, you can get free public transport for the holidays.
Not the Smart Riders.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're not now?
No, I don't have a Smart Rider anymore.
Don't have one, yeah.
I hate having to have a physical card for stuff. In Melbourne, you need a Myki and it costs you $6 to get a Myki.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, I actually left my wallet back home up north.
Oh.
So I borrowed my mum's card.
Yeah.
And then got a free public transport here. So
the cons of just having everything on your phone these days. It's so easy to get everything.
Exactly. Yep.
Mine is a bit, I think it's a loss, but it's also a good value spend. I went to the beach in Melbourne yesterday. It was great weather, very nice, but parking is $6 an hour at the beach. Yeah.
That's criminal.
So it was good for Melbourne weather.
Yep.
Sad I had to spend $20 for a few hours at the beach.
Yes.
But excited to be back in Perth because we're recording here in Perth today where the beach parking is mostly free.
Yep. It is busy, especially this time of year, but you can usually find a spot.
Yes, which is good. What was your first money memory?
First money memory would be kind of real young, maybe in early teens, maybe younger. I grew up with my heritage is Greek and my grandparents came out during the war to Perth. My dad was born here. I was born here. So I'm, long generation. But my granddad would always tell me, study hard, get an education, save money, and money saving was kind of drilled into me as a young kid. And that kind of was something that I stuck to for probably up until my late teens. And then I kind of decided, I could use this money better. But yeah, dad and granddad were big on saving money and putting it away for a rainy day and to kind of live the best life you can.
Did they tell you exactly how to save? Were they put it into a savings account? You should save a certain percentage or a certain amount? Yeah,
I remember once again, when I was real young, dad put all the cash I had in a term deposit, which I think sat for 12 months or 18 months. And then he basically explained it to me that, you can't touch this cash for X amount of months, but at the end of it, you'll get an extra $300 or whatever it was. It was, I think, maybe 5% or something like that on the cash sitting there. So I was like, wow, free money.
It's pretty
awesome.
Cool.
So that kind of concept stuck with me for a while. But then, as I learned more, kind of just to invest and use the money a bit better. But I suppose the term deposit was a way or in its own way, was investing, getting money for free, basically.
Yeah, definitely a type of investment. Did they invest in other things as well? Were they buying shares or property?
So not really. They pretty simple life. Worked school dropouts, mum and dad, high school dropouts, worked 9 to 5 jobs all their life.
What did they do?
Dad worked for Telstra for a long time and then was security. Mum does admin she's been around for a few different companies and government departments, and they kind of just use money frugally. They didn't really invest, although they do have the property our family home, they've subdivided since maybe 10 years ago now. So they rent out the front property and then mum and dad live in the back property. So they haven't really done much else in terms of investing, which has always been a bit of a sticking point because I've just kind of fumbled and learnt myself. But they're pretty low risk averse people. So they've stuck to the low risk stuff, cash, a bit of property, superannuation, stuff like that.
Term deposit here and there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you learn to invest then if it wasn't around you when you were growing up?
Yeah, good question. Like I said, kind of fumbled through it.
Did you just Google stuff? That's what I did. Like my dad kind of suggested an ETF. He was like, oh, you should buy the S&P 500 because Warren Buffett. I only found out recently it's because Warren Buffett suggested it for his wife. He didn't tell me that back then. He was like, you should just buy this.
Yeah, right.
So I just did a bit of Googling and that's where I kind of got started. Was it something similar for you?
Yeah, a bit of YouTube, bit of Google. But I think I always knew, and this is kind of like what kind of sparked, the FIRE journey, I suppose, or, the financial independence journey for me is like starting work. I always knew I don't want to do this forever. Imagine working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for 50 years, which, people do and that's fine.
Where did you get that thought from though? Did you see a movie, a documentary, anything like that?
Honestly,
or you just literally hated your work?
Well, not that I didn't even hate work. Work's fine. But I just knew, I was like, there's got to be more to life than doing this all the time. And I got the travel bug bad. So I'm like, there's so many places to explore in the world. And I think that kind of sitting in the back of your mind spurs those thoughts of how do I kind of get out of the rat race or make it work for me. But yeah, I pretty early on, one thing I thought was everyone needs a place to live. So I thought, why not buy a house? And I was, I think, 19 at the time. And all I knew is that, I would eventually need a place to live. So I'll buy a house. And all I knew is that property goes up over the long term. So I was like, why not start now? I bought at a peak market. So when I did purchase it, it was during some sort of boom in 2015 or 14 maybe.
How old are you now?
I've just turned 30.
30 now and you bought it when you were 19?
Yeah. And I was like, I will need a place to live eventually. I was living with mum and dad at the time and I was like, instead of renting, which I kind of consider dead money, but my thoughts since have kind of changed on that. But instead of renting, why not buy a place? And I was lucky enough that I was quite a good saver from, the early journey with mum and dad drilling that into me, and managed to buy a property, a little 2x1 unit, and kind of saw the short-term growth in it. And I've always had a long-term vision with holding that for as long as I can. And then pretty quickly went into another couple properties, which at the time the banks would loan quite a sum of money to me.
A lot more than they do now.
Yeah, exactly. And then, probably 4 or 5 years later, I was like, geez, I'm property heavy here. I need to diversify. And that's when kind of I started looking into ETFs. And
let's go back a little bit before we dive into ETFs. Sure. You were 19. A lot of people are just going out or thinking very short term. How did you kind of balance having friends going out but also saving for a property and also wanting to actually buy a property?
Yeah, great question.
Were you the odd one out or was it just like, this is what I'm going to do and it doesn't matter what you guys think?
I think I always strive for the balance of trying to pursue my goals and enjoying where I am at the moment. And I was very lucky that during school I worked at Subway.
Oh, nice. Good job.
Yeah. I actually did a lot of hours as a young fella. And, even sometimes might have skipped school for a few shifts.
Oh, interesting. Was this high school?
Yeah, high school, yeah. But I started when I was, I think, whatever the legal age is, I think it's 13 and 9 months or something.
Yeah.
I might have started a couple months before that as well. But I just knew that money coming in was a really good thing. I would watch my paycheck come in and be like, oh, sweet, $800.
This is so exciting. $800, wow. I was only $20 a shift back then. I think I got paid $12 or something. Yeah.
I think I was on $8.64.
Yeah, wow. Good memory.
I remember my first paycheck. So I put in bulk hours over 3 or 4 years at Subway, managed to save up a heap of money. That combined with a bit of term deposit stuff, and then managed to kind of have a bulk bit of cash to invest, which helped me get into the property market. The first homeowners grant, stuff like that helped. And then when I moved in, I rented out a room. So that obviously helped subsidise the mortgage repayments. And then that also allowed me to live a bit more, freely. I could still go out with my mates and spend money going out and things like that. But I've always kind of strived for that balance of trying to do your best for your goals.
You can do both, yeah.
Yeah, and trying to enjoy where I am, which is, I'd say it's a struggle, and I'm sure, lots of people would kind of, struggle to find that balance. But I think if you're conscious of it, you can kind of mitigate, going too far one way. I know a lot of friends who have, just worked for years and years and never, enjoyed where they're at.
Yeah.
And I've seen that and I've been like, okay, I don't want to be like that. Then I've seen lots of people who have just, lived their life large and spent all their money, which is, great for them. And then I was like, there has to be like a happy middle ground somewhere.
It is hard when you jump from like one side to the other. I used to be so frugal as well. And then I was like, I might just spend a bit more money. And then once you start spending, it's easy to keep spending. And now I think I've kind of found a balance, but it is hard to be like, I could be doing so much more though. I could 100%. Be working so much or making so much or saving more. So it is hard to like be comfortable with that.
Yeah. And I think, obviously people that are into their, finance and growing their finances are pretty like-minded in that sense where, I could always be doing more. But yeah, there are times where you have to stop and smell the roses and enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you bought your first property. Did you go to uni or anything, or were you just working full time?
Nah. So straight out of school, I went into a government admin job.
Oh, what did Granddad think of that? He was like, you should study. Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
Only because it was government jobs, quite stable, quite secure. I was actually doing a traineeship. So I was doing a certificate in government or business, something like that. But straight out of high school, and I was doing Subway on the side still. So I was kind of double dipping in terms of getting a bit of cash behind me still.
I think this is such a key part in so many people's stories when I talk to young people who've succeeded quite early on. Like they all seem to have worked multiple jobs. Like I did the same. I worked 2 or 3 the whole time. Another girl, Maddie, we interviewed recently, her as well. She had like her full-time job. She was a vaccine developer, but also worked at Apple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like juggling both kind of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And like obviously it's not overly sustainable as well. So gave Subway the flick eventually. But started in government, did about a year or 2 as basically admin. And then the IT department needed someone. I kind of heard whispers around the kitchen and more or less someone was like, oh, you're young, you know computers. And I was like, oh, sure.
Yeah, I can turn it on.
Yeah. They're like, oh, do you want to give IT a go? And I was like, oh, does it pay more? And I'm like, yeah. And then they kind of gave me the wage compared to what I was on. I was like, I'm doing IT.
Do you remember what the pay rise was?
It was a good almost 80-90% bump on what I was because I was a trainee at the time on traineeship wage. So going from that to I think
like a real job, a real salary.
So I tell people I more or less fell into IT, which is true. I have no real passion for technology as such. I mean, there's lots of people I work with that are talking about the new graphics cards and the new hardware and stuff that's coming out, and I really have no idea about that kind of stuff. But kind of fell into it from there, and that was a big bump in pay. And I've been in IT ever since, as that's my full-time job. So I have kind of just done a few certifications along the way, like vendor certificates, which kind of helps you progress in that industry. But I've never done a university degree or anything.
Can you share what you're earning now, or is that secret?
I think it's about 100,000. It is a bit grey because I live up north and there is some perks and allowances you get living above the 26th parallel.
Where does that start for people who don't know?
I think it's about, if you draw a line across, probably just north of Alice Springs.
Okay, yeah,
from maybe just north of Exmouth, which would go to probably just north of Brisbane. I'm just guesstimating there, but you get some allowances living up there because it's not a ideal living place given the heat, and it's quite remote, obviously far away from family and friends.
I think it can be such a hack though to to move somewhere like that for a little bit. What are some of the allowances? Do you get rental assistance, or do you get free accommodation?
Yeah, so there's rent subsidies, my rent is subsidised from my employer.
How much do you pay in rent, if you can share?
I think it's about $150 a week,
the dream.
Which is for a 1-by-1, which for me, I'm single and live on my own, so it's perfect, low maintenance.
$150 a week, the dream.
Yeah, exactly. Then you also get what's called district allowance, which is maybe $400 a fortnight, something like that, which is just basically for living. That's the 26th parallel thing, living in the north. And then you also get some good perks in terms of extra leave and salary sacrifice options and things like that. There's all these little kind of things that don't necessarily give you a bigger wage, but it makes you stretch your dollar further, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you find it's harder to spend money because there's less things open? I'm assuming there's no Uber Eats still.
Yes, no Uber Eats up there. It definitely is harder to spend money because there's not a hell of a lot to do. Lots of people, although, in saying that, lots of people are into their boating, camping, fishing. There's a big drinking pub culture.
Yeah, if you like alcohol,
Yeah, which is, you know, I'd go out every now and then, but as opposed to the city where you could go out, you know, every Friday, Saturday, and there's always something happening. It's not quite that. So you do naturally kind of put more money away and not spend as much generally.
Yeah, I think it's all the small things as well. Like if everything's closer, you're not driving as far unless you're driving back to Perth, which is a pretty horrendous long drive.
Yeah.
But if you're just like kind of driving 10 minutes to your friend's house or 10 minutes to work, whatever it is, you're going to save money there. You're not getting Uber Eats. You're not being tempted by like walking through a big shopping centre and everything's on special.
Exactly. Yeah. My route to work is from my house to the gym, which is 5 minutes. I usually go in the morning and then straight to work. And I don't think I pass a single shop.
Yeah, no McDonald's, no coffee,
no, nothing like that. So
handy.
Naturally, you put more dollars away.
Yeah, when I did a snow season in Perisher.
Oh, yeah.
And I was managing to invest $750 a week while I was living there because we got free accommodation, free food, like breakfast and lunch was included. No breakfast and dinner, but you could like kind of hack it so you didn't need to eat lunch. And then I had a season pass and I had all my snowboarding gear.
Oh, cool.
So if you like didn't drink too much on the mountain and you didn't buy like $20 chips for lunch, you could actually save quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like shops or anything. And then we lived in the national park. So unless you had a car to go and drive to the shops, you just like kind of couldn't spend money, which is great.
So you kind of can definitely, very low expense lifestyle.
Yeah, you can definitely take advantage.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I try to do where I live at the moment.
Are you planning on moving back to Perth or are the perks too good?
I think eventually, it's a very transient town, or the north is very transient in general. But at the moment, it kind of serves its purpose for me. So I think eventually I'll move back to Perth or maybe another city, kind of just see where life takes me.
Yeah. So going back to shares then, you had, how many was it, 3 properties?
Yeah, so I had 3 properties by, I think I was 21 at the time.
What, 3 by 21? Crazy.
Yeah.
So you bought 3 in what, 2 years? What?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how much the banks were lending.
Yeah.
And then at the time I also went on a 3-month Europe trip. So that was the balancing I was talking about. So I managed to, you know, have my fun and invest at the same time.
Why did you want to buy so many so quickly? Was it just like, wow, this is working for me, I'm excited, or?
Yeah, pretty much. And to be honest, when I did buy them, I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of figured it out as I was going. So things like negative gearing, I kind of learnt along the way. I suppose the one sticking point I learned was kind of a Warren Buffett thing where you hold, you know, through the ups and downs, which is what I've done. And I knew starting early, these would always be 30, 40-year investments, although I have sold a place since, which
why did you sell it?
It was a fair bit of wear and tear, and I'm not a renovator at all, not my game. So I know my strengths and I...
Not for you.
Yeah, I let it go to an East Coast investor actually, and yeah, there's obviously a lot of East Coast money coming here at the moment. So I was like, oh, look, it's not a bad decision to actually do this now. So yeah, did that.
Yeah, I found I only have 1 property and that can be really annoying at times. Like just the amount of, like the tenant I have now is lovely and doesn't really ask for too much. But the tenant I had before was like, oh, my toilet doesn't flush as strong as my toilet at work.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, I don't know what your toilet is like at work. Like just stuff like that where it's like, I can't do anything about it. And you're like emailing people backwards and forwards and it just like adds so much time. So imagine if you've got 3 or you're renting out 2 of them, like that can be a lot of extra admin.
Yeah. That property's here in Perth, right? Yeah. Do you manage it yourself?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, definitely not. But then my property managers are not that great either.
Yeah. So I managed them all myself at the time. Okay. And because where I was living, I kind of purchased within a little my sphere of influence that I knew well. So they're all kind of within 5 kilometres of each other. If little things did break, I'd go over and try and fix it myself or lean a lot on friends that were in trades to help out. But I think probably the biggest win for managing it myself is I could choose my own tenants, and I kind of consider myself a good judge of character, and I've chosen some tenants that are fantastic. One of the tenants I have has been in my unit for 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
And have never had a problem. In saying that, I have had some bad ones as well, but at least I can control that and I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
So I have some family that are in real estate as well. And I've always been of the opinion if you can get some good tenants in and rent it out, if they're good, there's not really much work to do. I mean, every now and then there's a tap that breaks that you have to fix or a door or whatever, which, I'm lucky to have some mates that can help out with that kind of stuff.
I need more tradie friends to add to the list.
Yeah, that's a little hack. But yeah, managing it myself, obviously the management fees are tax deductible for if you do hire a property manager. But I've managed to get through without for the time, so it's been good.
So you sold 1, you still have 2 now?
Correct, yeah.
And then when did you start buying shares? You're like, oh shit, I've got 3 properties.
Yeah, it was probably like maybe a year or two after buying 3 properties, probably when Bitcoin.
So what, 23, 24? Oh, Bitcoin.
Yeah, probably when Bitcoin was coming out, like 2017, 2018.
Did you buy Bitcoin?
I did at the time. And
did you?
I don't know where it is now.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I'm one of those that lost the wallet code and
stuff. Have you tried to find it?
I have, but no luck. I wouldn't have had a hell of a lot in there, but yeah.
It's gone up a lot. Yeah.
I know. I don't like to talk about it too much. Okay. But yeah, when Bitcoin kind of started taking off, that kind of piqued my interest in crypto. And then I pretty quickly learned that crypto for me was pretty much gambling. Like I was just going off a feel or a whim.
Yeah.
And I think I bought the first bit of crypto and I made like $20 pretty quickly. Like it was in like 3 hours. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I could be like a day trader. And then I got burnt with that obviously very quickly. So I learnt my lesson pretty quickly on, day trading. And from there, I kind of looked at alternatives to crypto, which led me down to the ETF path. Watched a lot of Warren Buffett kind of videos.
Interesting.
A lot of New Money Australia videos. And they kind of helped me really build them. I think what's best for me is building the mindset of investing, which is because it's all, everyone kind of knows how to invest in terms of you put money in and you buy low, sell high. But what changes between that time is your mindset and your feelings towards the investments. So yeah, I've kind of watched enough content, or there's always more, but watched a lot of content to kind of get a strong mindset to invest.
Were you ever afraid of losing lots of money or like the property market crashing, or did you always just believe it was going to go up?
I don't think afraid is the word. I was just conscious of it. Like I've always only put in money that I'm happy to lose, especially in shares and ETFs. I've only ever put in money that like, okay, if it goes to zero, I can still survive, all that kind of stuff. And I think I've also known that I can live really frugally if I needed to.
It, yeah.
Live off a packet of ramen a day or something. So yeah, there's always that worst case scenario that you do go through, even when, because I bought property at the peak, and even when it kind of dived or slowly kind of tapered down over a long period, I knew I had that long-term vision, which kind of helped me know that over the long term, these things bounce back. So I've always had that long-term vision, which has helped kind of hold these assets through the dark times.
Yeah, and that's hard to develop when you're quite young as well, like at 21 being like, oh, well, hopefully it'll go back up again. Because a lot of people are so scared of the media and all the news. But maybe it was different back then because it wasn't like on TikTok seeing so much doom and gloom like you do these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a bit of that, but definitely nowhere near as much as today.
It's just on like the 6 p.m. news, which you can tune out a bit better.
Exactly. Yeah, you can definitely block out the noise a lot easier, 5-6 years ago. And, even with COVID, that's kind of when I started ramping up my ETF investing because I kind of, Warren Buffett, I can't quote him exactly, but buy when fear is high, basically.
Yeah,
so COVID happened. Things took a dive and I had cash ready to go. And so I kind of luckily got in at a really good time to bulk up my ETF stocks.
Were you stock picking as well or just buying ETFs?
I was, but like very, really minor stock picking stuff. And
did it do well?
None of it's worked out. No. I've tried, Bitcoin related share market companies, things like that. Yeah, just things that I've maybe Googled or someone's told me about.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just put in maybe $500 to just in case it takes off. And it's never
I bought the crypt ETF from Beta Shares.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, there's so much noise, people are talking about it. I didn't actually look into it that much. I think I bought like $1,000 worth of it and it dropped like 70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I did look at that myself, but I'll stick to my what I know. Yeah.
Which ETFs do you buy if you're happy to share?
Yeah, mostly pretty broad range indexes like S&P 500. I've got a fair bit of the Australian 300, which is VAS.
Yeah.
I think you've done a few.
Yeah, we talk about VAS a lot. Yeah, it's one of like the most bought ETFs on Perla.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I got a fair share of VAS and IVV, which is the Beta Shares, I think.
No, the iShares S&P 500 one.
Yeah,
that was my first investment, IVV.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I'll go into them pretty comfortably and regularly. And then I do a bit more concentrated ETFs. So the IVV and VAS are kind of my, long-term slow growers.
Your core.
Then I've kind of got the medium-term growers, which is things like VanEck do this Qual, QUAL.
Qual's good.
Yeah, which is good. I've been going into that. I've been going into one called Tech, a robot one.
Oh, yeah.
RBTZ, which has been going pretty good. But these ones are ones that if they go to zero, I expect to lose the money. I expect to have no returns from, or, to lose my money completely, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few other little ones I can't think of right now, but
that's okay. You've got your cool one and then a few more like fun ones.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good balance of having that security and stability of the big ones, and then having a little bit more of you seeing a bit more returns, but also a bit more risk in terms of the tech stuff.
Yeah, and you've got to keep it exciting. I've tried to avoid buying any more of those because they generally don't do well for me. But it's hard when you see the marketing. You're like, oh, that's such a good idea, and I understand why they're doing it. But then in principle, sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah, a good example of that is the Fang one. Have you seen that? It was like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, all that, which I did buy a long time ago, and I sold with a little bit of a profit, but just the volatility of that, and like. I read something about Netflix not turning a profit.
Yeah, for like the whole time.
Yeah, it's like they've never turned a profit or something.
Yeah, they're only, maybe. Did they just turn a profit or not quite yet? I know for a long time they didn't. Same with like Uber. Like a lot of these companies don't actually make any money for ages.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah. And like considering they're in these ETFs, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, because I know my risk profile, quite low risk averse. So yeah, those ones kind of, I was like, oh, I'll move them on. And
interesting that you say you're risk averse, because a lot of people think that shares are too risky.
Yep. And I was like that for a long time. Even my parents were like, oh, they got burnt with shares. I think they invested in a gold company or something on advice from another family member or something to that effect. And that was their only dabble in the stock market. So for a long time, I was not really looking at any or considering any stock market investment. But yeah, then Bitcoin kind of inspired me to start looking at stuff.
Yeah, I think it's kind of skewed people's idea of risk a little bit, because it's like, oh, well, Bitcoin is like kind of one of the safer cryptos. There's way more risky cryptos. So then shares look safe comparing it to that.
Yeah.
But then I also look at it the other way. Like I think property is more risky because you're buying one property in one area. But if you're buying an ETF, like the one I buy has 8,000 companies in it. And not all 8,000 are going to go bankrupt.
That's right.
But your house something could happen to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially with ETFs, like knowing that you've got that diversification mitigates a lot of the risk as well.
How are you earning money now? You have your full-time job.
Yeah.
Do you have any side hustles as well?
Yeah, I do a few things. My full-time job's IT. So I manage working up for the hospital where I live. Mm-hmm. I play music on the side, which
give it a shout out.
I go by Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn,
my stage name. But yeah, I've just started releasing original music this year, which is more of a passion thing, and it's fun, and there's no money in it at all. If anything, it's a money drainer because paying for recordings and promo and all sorts of stuff. But I also do a lot of cover gigs for events and mining companies, mostly around where I live, and it's actually going pretty well. It's kind of a people usually think of musicians as like, starving, paycheck to paycheck kind of people. But I've managed to kind of create a really good network, had a lot of help from, some mentors and friends that have helped me along the way, and managed to build up a bit of a repertoire and do some cool gigs that pay pretty well. And
what's pretty well?
I did a 3-hour gig a couple of weeks ago, and I think I got about $2,000 for it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's pretty handy.
Yeah, go be a musician in a mining town if you want to make any money.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Amazing.
But that's been kind of a slow burn. Like when I started, I was horrible. I couldn't sing a note. Still probably can't, but yeah, it's progressively getting better. And now, making my own music is fun. So that takes up kind of every second weekend, I suppose, I'll be doing music. And, if I play at, for instance, the pub, they usually give you beers as part of your payment, and then I'll make a night out of it.
Perfect.
Free booze.
And money as well, the dream, getting paid to go out.
Usually my friends turn out, so usually have a few drinks with them afterwards and have a bit of fun. So that works well.
And are you a personal trainer as well?
Yeah, group trainer. So I haven't done it for a while because I've been done a bit of traveling this year, but I was working at the gym where I live as well as a group trainer, doing like F45 coaching classes, which from that I was getting like a free gym membership.
F45 is so expensive.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, F45 can cost.
It's such a good hack when you find the things you want to do and then find a way to get them for free. I did it with diving. I worked as a dive master and a snorkel guide on a boat for a little bit. Yeah, and the pay was terrible, but we got to go for free. In Perth, we did trips up to Ruddo and Karnak. Yeah, it was quite a few. It was before COVID. But I did like my dive masters through them. So it was cheaper and you kind of like worked for it a little bit. But like dive trips, like $200, a day. And we could just jump on the boat whenever we wanted. So that's pretty cool.
That's a great one.
Yeah. It's like lots of little things that you can do to try and like keep doing fun stuff without paying for them.
Yeah, exactly. And like I'm big on my health and fitness. So having a free gym membership was my only expense probably at the time beside food. And so like to be doing that and you get paid for it as well. And also being in a small town, there's a good community of people, especially, then there's the gym community within the community, which everyone helps each other out and boosts each other up. And it's a real positive environment, which I love. And that's cool.
It's awesome.
And then I do some like IT work, just help people out as well every now and then. And I was an army reservist as well.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, but not anymore, just kind of bit off a bit more I can chew.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I'm involved with local sport as well. So I had a lot going on, so I had to drop the army.
Yeah.
Which, although the army's a good one, as a reservist, you get tax-free money.
Do you? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, although it's not, the greatest it pays, but it's tax-free.
Especially if you're earning a lot in your other work.
Yeah, that's right. Also with, don't quote me on the actual rule, but your employer has to release you for army-related duties.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the exact information around that, but there's definitely some sort of clause that an employer must release a reservist for duty or whether it's training or whatever.
So it works in together.
Yeah, exactly. I went over you do basic training in a place called Kapuka in New South Wales.
Oh, that's fun. Free trip away.
Yeah, so you spend 5 weeks there and it's like you see in the movies.
Is it hectic?
It's hectic, yeah. You get grilled, you screamed at face to face. But also it's one of the most unique experiences you can have because you're in these the base with 50 other people. Everyone's in the same boat. And I think the whole premise is to kind of break you down to build you up. Mm-hmm. So you're getting, the first few weeks you're getting screamed at and berated down, just face to face.
Hectic.
But then you all kind of grow together and you come out with some awesome people, some cool friends. One of the guys I know, he does a podcast in Queensland for like career building in emergency services.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, so you meet all kinds of people, a lot of young people as well, which was cool to kind of, I went as quite one of the older people, but became a bit of a mentor for the young kids, which was cool.
Interesting. You've gone on like so many little side quests. Because I remember you were telling me you went and worked at like some camp in America as well.
Yeah, that was this year. I went and worked in a summer camp in America where kids basically spend 6 weeks of their summer holidays doing just activities, sports and water sports. And I was a wakeboard instructor.
So cool.
Yeah, which I've wakeboarded a couple of times, but
you weren't even like super good at it.
Not great.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that was a cool experience as well. Once again, good camaraderie of people that are in the same.
You're stuck in the middle of nowhere in America.
Yeah, you're in this bubble, and that was when Trump actually got shot when I was over there. But we didn't really hear about it or anything because we're just in this bubble. But you come out with some awesome friends and good people.
You mentioned FIRE early on. Are you still trying to achieve that? Is that still the goal of all of this?
Yeah, kind of. Like I kind of said, a strive for balance more than retiring itself. I don't think I'll ever retire. I want to be active. And
yeah, I feel the same. I like the idea of it. And then I had like a few months off during COVID. Then I was like, I hate this. Like I actually love working.
Exactly. And I think that's probably where the music comes in, like pursuing a bit of a music career is like a passion thing. So having to work is just to keep me going to pursue the music stuff. And, I'll hopefully get to a point, I'm pretty much at the point where I could probably just be a barista for a couple of days a week. And then.
Interesting. Do you want to do that?
It's something I could definitely get around.
I keep saying I could do it. I could do this.
Yeah, I'm stuck in the one more year syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is fine for me at the moment. But yeah, I definitely am thinking about the next steps and where to go from here.
What is the plan?
I don't really have one.
Sorry, I hate that question as well. I'm like, I think 3 months ahead at this time, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I think the music is something that's where I really feel lit up. So I spend a lot of time on that stuff and hopefully over the next couple of years turn that into more or less a full-time job or turn it into something where I can earn a sustainable wage from or even just, a wage of some sort.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of making a wage anyway just from like the gigs. Like $2,000 if you're doing can you do one of those a week or is that more rare?
You probably do it once a month or fortnight.
Yeah, okay.
That is doing the covers stuff and covers are good, they're fun, but I do enjoy playing my original music, which is kind of the ultimate goal, to be playing, you know, your original songs to people who actually listen, because not many people listen to your original stuff unless you know, Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran. But slow build.
Do you have a number in your head where you're like, if I have this much invested, then I can quit to do music? Or are you just kind of waiting to see what happens?
I really should have a number in my head, and it's something I'm kind of working on with the help of mentors and a few people that help me through it. But if I can get to, well, I said to myself a few years ago, if I get to $1 million net worth, I'll be happy and done. But I'm there now, and now
still
I'm thinking,
not happy.
Now I'm thinking, 1.5 sounds a lot easier.
There's always
better.
more.
And there's also that, you know, lifestyle creep, which sets in and makes you kind of pursue more. But I'm sitting in a position now where I could pull the trigger if I want to. I think who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Oh, yeah.
He calls it FU money.
Yeah.
So at the point of having FU money, which is a pretty powerful position to be in, because you don't need an employer, they need you.
Yeah.
And when you kind of come from that angle, a lot of life changes.
I found it really difficult. Like, I can't completely retire, but even when I just got to the point where I didn't really, like, I knew I could get a different job, I knew I could make money in other ways, I was not motivated to work anymore, and it was hard to like be excited about it. So I was like, what's the point of this if I could maybe make a little bit more money doing other stuff? And that's when I quit and did social media full time. Yeah,
which is a good way of seeing it too.
Yeah, but it's hard when you're trying to be like, oh, I like work for like the routine and seeing people and like learning skills. But then when you're like having it in your mind, like, I don't really need to be here. Do you feel that as well with your job?
Yeah, definitely. It serves, you know, a particular purpose in terms of, like you said, you know, having a routine, which is really healthy as well. But once I get to that point, which, you know, could be not too far, but I'm kind of in a bit of a place at the moment where that routine is working for me, and I've got a good balance. But that could quickly change as well.
But no need to rush it. Someone said to me once, like, you've only got good decisions to make and like good choices. Like, none of this is a bad choice. So you're in a great spot and you don't need to make one if you don't want to.
I love that. Yeah. I think you can only win or learn. There's no failure. You know, I've kind of changed my perception towards failure in that sense where, there's learnings to be had which push you closer to winning.
Yeah. Well, then you quit and then you're like, oh, I'll just get another job again. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. This was a great chat. I'm sure there's so much for people to take away. If you want to come find your music, how do they search for you? Do they literally just search Tommy Gunn and Spotify?
It might not come up there. I think there's a few Tommy Guns up there.
Oh, no.
My website is tommygunmusic.com.au. And then there's links to my Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram and stuff. My Instagram is tommygun_Oz. You can find me there.
And what kind of music do you make?
So I make like hard rock music, which is like kind of my jam. But I love my music. I have a massive influence of music. Metallica is probably my favourite band. So kind of in that vein.
Okay, that vibe.
It's not the most marketable music, but it's what I love.
Everything has an audience.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tash.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Ana Cristina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.